It reminds me of when I was teaching about in front of 30 students and all these different language people. You had to pronounce their name,
Oh,
and I couldn't pronounce half of them correct.
I know.
All
Oh,
right. Okay. So how's everything going for you today?
well, the day has been beautiful, has been fine, but coincidentally, there's been a flood in my country today in the southwest region. Devastating.
Oh, you want to tell us about it?
Oh, yeah, sure. Limbe town in the southwest region has had, I think for the past few hours, has had heavy downpour and floods that have taken over the entire city. And so far, the news says records about 6 deaths. And the most pitiful of it all is a pregnant lady. You know how bad I can get, right? Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay. So do you guys have any like called FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Assistance, anything like that from your government at all like that? If somebody gets stranded or rescued?
nothing at this moment. I wish we had. At this point, I wish we had, but no, we don't have. Just well wishers and people from different communities helping to
Oh, wow.
evacuate the dead bodies and trying to save the people, the few that they could save. And the roads are blocked. The roads are blocked. I was just on Facebook. Can you hear me properly?
What's that? What's that
Can
again?
I'm asking, can you hear me
Yeah. Oh,
properly?
yeah. I'm hearing everything you're saying.
Oh,
Yep. No
oh,
problem at all. That is
okay.
interesting. You know,
Um,
I mean, I used to do
oh,
storm chasing and stuff like that
yeah.
with flooding, rains, tornadoes, thunderstorms. And I'm just saying right now, from what I hear, like the United States has probably the best preparation for helping people in need and stuff like that, probably throughout the world. So, I mean, I get it. Like some countries, I don't live there. So I have to ask the question, if you live there, what are you going to do? You know what I mean? If your house gets destroyed or a car gets sucked in the flood, that's something you have to replace. Because I'm sure you guys don't have like what flood
Yeah.
insurance out there,
Uh,
right? I mean, it's not easy to
no, we
replace.
don't. No, we really don't. It's not easy. That's the sad reality. That's the sad reality. And until these occurrences arise over and over again, bef people never really get to see the need for this insurance. But it's unfortunate that this is our sad reality. It's really unfortunate. It's unfortunate.
So I see that you're in climate change. Is that correct?
Yes, you're
Yes.
correct.
So what type of climate change are you in? Like, are you talking about like the polar caps melting from the sun's, angle of incidence and stuff like that? Or are you talking about like saving paper and, or recycling? Get into more detail about that. That's interesting.
Okay. The climate, this is the global south. So the climate realities here are quite different from the climate realities in the global north because as someone from Cameroon, which is in the global south, I can be talking about the melting glaciers. We're talking unpredictable rainfall patterns. We're talking longer dry seasons, especially in the north of Cameroon. We're talking flood in urban areas like Douala. And today, coincidentally, Limbe, due to heavy rainfall and poor, combined with poor drainage, we're talking about increased pressures on food prices because of agricultural production, and just the changing growing seasons that make traditional farm knowledge less reliable and waste disposal as well. So this is my area. Well, I cut
Or
across other areas, but particularly these are the areas of concentration.
so are you concentrating on climate change throughout the world or just through your country, or is it a nationwide thing that you're doing?
Nationwide. Like I said, I master the realities of my country. So it's easy
Yeah,
for me to talk about what happens in my country. So I
right.
think yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Like for instance, I've noticed here, like when I've lived in the U.S., they predict so much snow here. We don't get it, or we get a lot or too much, and it's unpredictability. You're not going to know what the weather's going to do. Like for instance, it's
Yeah.
supposed to rain today. It did rain. Okay. Well, guess what? You don't know exactly what time it's going to come in. You might have an estimate time, but that's what's we want to call it the unexpectedness of the weather, the happenings of the weather, so to speak. So basically, that's pretty much it. So I mean, with that, so do you guys get hit by any hurricanes or typhoons or anything? I don't think so, do you?
No, we don't get hit by hurricanes and typhoons, but the mudslides,
Oh, okay.
landslides, floods, yeah, that's the reality here.
What
I
about
think
like
20,
out of
oh,
like no volcanoes or anything like that out there? I don't think so. Right.
no, we have a mountain. We have a mountain, but they're not active volcanoes so far. What we've been hit by, I think 2022, if I get March 2022, if I get the facts right, we were hit by a flash flood in the southwest region in Boya. That was March, which took down houses, it destroyed property, it took lives, and the flash floods were really devastating. And then today in Limbe, the same thing. Douala, I don't want to call it normal occurrence, but I'm forced to, because when it rains heavily, when it's the rainy season, like what we're experiencing right now, the floods just don't hide anymore. The floods are heavy and devastating, breaking through neighborhoods, even halting
Wow.
education, because most times students can't even go to school because of the heavy floods sweeping in some neighborhoods. Yeah.
I remember when I was 12 or 13 years old, we missed about 25 days of school because of below wind chill factors. The 20
Oh my
degrees
goodness.
below, snow, blizzards, and everything, 3-foot storms. This was back in 1992, 93. And
Oh,
then
wow. What country?
1992 and 1993, when I was about 12 or 13 years old. We also had a tornado called the Salisbury tornado. The night we
Oh,
graduated, it hit Salisbury not once but twice, and
hmm.
even a second round of tornadoes hit it. Almost
It was
insane practical.
it,
Yep. So it was an EF2. It was in the middle. EF2, EF3. We got up to an EF5. So I mean, the weather's quite unpredictable. You got your earthquakes too. We had one little tremor of an earthquake in the mountains, which we never get, like a 0.2.
oh wow. Which country to be specific? Which country?
This is in the United States in Pennsylvania, on the western side of
Oh,
Pennsylvania. Yeah, this is around
all right.
Pittsburgh, Harrisburg, Somerset, basically. So yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so let's start with the questions here. Many people think climate change is something that's happening somewhere else. How is it already affecting the everyday lives of Africans in many ways they may not even realize?
Wow. That's a heavy one. Before, people thought that climate change was a future problem, but communities are experiencing it every single day in different forms. Like I mentioned earlier, unpredictable rainfall patterns affecting farmers, longer dry seasons, floods in urban areas, and changing growing seasons that actually make traditional food knowledge less reliable. Increase in waterborne diseases, increase in, when high intensity in disease outbreaks. Let's take for example the north region of my country, Cameroon. When there is, let's say, when there is a drought, people get to, definitely when there's a drought, that's water scarcity. Because of that, people don't get access to clean water. So whatever is at their disposal becomes the best thing ever. And now you can imagine a waterborne disease outbreak at that time, and at such a time as that. So that's how climate change affects different areas well, different areas in my country. And then let's look at food prices. Let's look at food prices. When there's increased pressure on food prices because of agricultural production, be rest assured that there has been some sort of pest outbreaks on farm produce. It could be maize, it could be cocoyams. I was reading somewhere recently, and a farmer was saying that there's a certain species of cocoyam. It's a tuber here in Cameroon. They call Igbo cocoa, and I would say it's a bit extinct. It's rapidly getting to extinction because of climate change, because of the effects of climate change on that species. Yeah.
I want to tell you, you hit right on the nose with number two. Question number two. Teddy's my podcast manager that comes up with the questions, and she's pretty good at it. And I usually come up with my own, but listen to this question number two. It seems like you just predicted ahead with what we were going to ask. So listen to this. Okay. From rising food prices to unpredictable weather affected farming, how much of the cost of living crisis can be linked to climate change?
Wow, can be linked to climate change. Food systems and climate change, I would say, are cousins. And this is what I mean. In Africa here, many African communities depend highly on agriculture for livelihood. Many African communities, they greatly depend on agriculture for their livelihood. And imagine climate disruptions affecting crop yield, affecting livestock, affecting household incomes, affecting food availability. So it's an entire chain. When there's climate change, there's lower production, there's scarcity, and because there's scarcity, we have higher food prices. And what happens to the man on the street? The vulnerable families suffer most. So therefore, that is it. That's just the chain. Climate change affects lower production, lower crop production, then there's scarcity, and then it becomes higher prices because the crabs in the barrel syndrome, which we're fighting for the little at the bottom, and then what happens? Vulnerable families suffer the most. So that's the link.
Okay, awesome. Question number three. Many people feel powerless when they fear about climate change. What's one simple action every individual can take that genuinely makes a difference?
Okay, what decisions individuals can take? Okay, what actions individuals can take?
Right.
Well, I'd always say that climate change should not be an individual's thing, but collectively. Let me put it this way. This is what individuals can do. Reduce food waste, support local and sustainable food systems, plant and protect trees, because trees are the greatest carbon sinks. So planting and protecting trees goes a long way. And also just practicing responsible consumption, because most times I remember traveling from the Northwest region to Yaoundé, and on the way, there was a heap around the farming community in Santa subdivision in the Northwest region. There was a heap of carrot.
Please proceed to chapter 1.
Sorry about that. That's the announcement. That's been caught in the video by accident.
Okay. There was a huge heap of carrot, and I was wondering, could this not be sold at a low cost so that families can consume? Could this not be sold at a low cost so that families can consume? And that's what we say. That was actually irresponsible consumption, because you can afford certain things. You think I can just, I can buy, use a little, waste a little because I'm the producer, and which really doesn't have a great ripple effect on the community. And also, you mentioned individuals. I was thinking, not only individuals, communities too could create gardens schools could create school gardens and establish environmental clubs, restore degraded ecosystems. Because, like I said, an individual it's not climate action is not an individual thing. In as much as we have our part to play as individuals, it should be a collective. It should be collective contribution. So as communities, we can create
proceed to shower forward.
promote gardens, promote climate education, and restore degraded ecosystems. Yes.
Okay, question number 4. You built a career in both cybersecurity and climate advocacy. How can technology help communities become more resilient while also addressing environmental changes?
Okay, let's look at examples such as digital platforms that connect farmers to information. If systems are built that inform farmers about weather patterns, climate patterns, rainfall, and all of that, it'll be easy for them to predict their farming seasons and their harvesting seasons. Thereby, this will go a long way to reduce to increase crop yield, because they're going to plant at the appropriate seasons. They're going to plant their crops at appropriate seasons and harvest at the appropriate time as well. And we look at satellite technology for agriculture, maybe mobile applications for environmental awareness. These are things that are practically I wouldn't say which are practically not in existence for farmers in most parts of the global south. And also technology can help communities to monitor climate risks, to improve agricultural decisions, and access renewable energy solutions. For example, in the case where there's high yield and the weather in a case where there's high yield and there's a need to preserve, we do not have maybe solar fridges or solar powered dryers and solar powered fridges that can increase the shelf life of farm produce. So that always goes along with that. And when those things are, when that innovation is not, or when those technological solutions are not in place, farmers suffer. So I feel like technological innovations can help increase the shelf life of crops, can help to inform farmers about the appropriate planting and harvesting seasons, can help to even detect diseases, crop diseases, definitely. And then even help with irrigation in areas of acute.
Your shower is ready.
Okay, cool.
Shower 1.
Let's see. Number 5, the final question. Climate conversations often focus on the challenges. What opportunities do you believe climate innovation presents for Africa and over the next decade?
This is a coincidence. Today, an article I wrote was published in the newspaper, and this targeted green jobs for Cameroonians. And I think it just came in. It's just coincidental that it came in at a time like this. Africa is not always the victim because we are very innovative people. That said, we can turn our scars or turn our pain into opportunities. For example, renewable energy, the opportunities for renewable energy technicians, solar installation specialists, sustainable agriculture experts, environmental educators, climate data analysts, green construction professionals, even businesses, circular economy businesses.
Please proceed
To be very specific, we can look at recycling, like waste recycling into pavement bricks, because I was reading somewhere and I stumbled on a publication which showcased the work of a young person who was transforming plastics into pavement bricks. So definitely, these are the opportunities. These are the opportunities in a barrage of other opportunities that young people can, can grab. Like I said, Africa is not always the victim. We have talents. We can use our pain to channel them into finding solutions to our problems. Yeah.
Very, very useful information. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I learned a lot off of this too, because I'm also in climate change myself. And I can say that it's definitely a hard subject to study, research, and get changes done. Like, through your government or state, or just trying to make a difference in the community so that, we have a safer environment,
Yeah.
especially atmospherically, environmentally, structurally. It all makes sense what you're saying there, no matter what country you're in, because you want to feel safe when you're breathing air. You want to feel
Yeah,
safe when you're preparing for weather and not feel all nervous about it and all this stuff. And the expense of some of these programs of putting it out there is great. So definitely interesting that, for sure, with the climate change and what goes on in with it. And I can see you're definitely a well-qualified individual, and it was definitely a pleasure having you on the show here. And thank you for asking questions explicitly and very, very detailed. Too.
Thank you.
So, here's what I want to do next. We all connect on LinkedIn. I already shared your connection. I'll send you a review and a recommendation link. I'll recommend your work. Since I interviewed you, because Teddy goes out there and tries to find people, and she usually finds pretty good people. And you're one top of the ones. Very interesting subject. And definitely, worth the time of getting on the show. And I'm glad I could get you on there. And we'll have this up in about 15 or 20 minutes for you.
Okay, so we can check this podcast on
the biggest
YouTube.
key is accept my invite on LinkedIn. And then I can, go over there, request a recommendation, review, and all that other stuff. And then, that's the deal for on the show. Because we broadcast it nationwide on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and LinkedIn.
Okay.
And, we do it basically for free as a volunteer thing, and other shows would charge probably several $100s for it just to show up on the show for 15 or 20 minutes. So, that's about it. And I hope you have a great day, and I hope the flooding succeeds down there, and that you guys get the help you need.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
All right, no problem. Have yourself a great day.
And you too, sir. Thank you.